Surrounded by flickering candlelight reflecting off endless mountains of gold and jewels, Dolores nervously took her seat at the grand dining table across from the imposing figure. Her hands trembled as she tried to understand her situation. She was face to face with Bartholomew Borgia, the wealthiest man in the world. She knew his public identity, as the head of one of the 7 great families, but she also knew his true hidden nature. He was a demon disguised in human form. Bartholomew began the conversation by praising her, saying her skills were truly impressive. When Dolores looked up in surprise, he explained that he had reviewed her investment history. He pointed out her decision to invest a huge sum in the Sindai Wendy Merchant Group, calling it a bold choice. He admitted that her decisiveness and accurate insight had genuinely impressed even him. Flustered by the unexpected praise, Dolores could only manage a quiet thank you. As Bartholomew watched her across the lavishly set table, she quickly remembered the Night Hound's warning. He had told her that Bartholomew was a master of words and that she had to stay on guard to avoid being manipulated. Realizing she had almost been swayed, she mentally prepared herself. Regaining her composure, she calmly replied that he was far too kind. Bartholomew paused for a moment, his expression hard to read. Then, with a casual tone, he dropped a piece of information that shocked Dolores. He mentioned that Cardinal Hubert had visited him earlier that day, saying he seemed to be meeting many important people from Quo Vadis lately. The name hit Dolores hard, her face freezing in shock and horror. She already knew that Hubert was working with heretics, but she had never imagined that his corruption went this high. The head of the Borgias family, noticing her shocked expression, asked Dolores if his words made her uncomfortable. He pointed out that as the saintess, she belonged to the New Testament faction of the church. He explained that he had deep connections with the priests of the Old Testament faction and said it would be a shame if she distanced herself from him because of these political differences. Reaching out a hand in a gesture of false friendship, he continued to manipulate. He claimed he wished to be on good terms with the New Testament faction as well, but felt they unfairly judged the Borgia family's wealth, calling them inhuman and wicked. He argued that because of this, his family's own ways of doing good were not appreciated. Taking a sip of his wine, Bartholomew asked if it wasn't a good and righteous act to use great wealth to perform great acts of good. Dolores remained silent, her expression hardening. She knew that the meaning of good when spoken by a demon was very different from what humans understood. Her lack of response seemed to confuse Bartholomew. Suddenly, the time for pretending was over. Dolores slammed her hands on the table, her fear replaced by anger. She began to list his monstrous crimes, his deal with the demon Dantalion, which involved feeding him orphans, his corruption of Quo Vadis by spreading the system of indulgences, and his support of heretics to create division in his attempt to take over the holy city. Leaning forward, she declared that the only reason he could possibly judge these horrific acts as good was because of his true identity. With her eyes blazing with certainty, she directly accused him, shouting that he was a demon. For a moment, there was a heavy silence. Then a slow, sinister smile spread across Bartholomew's face, and he let out a low chuckle. The chuckle quickly grew into a booming, crazed laugh that echoed through the vast golden room. The force of his laughter was so powerful that it caused the mountains of gold coins around them to shake. Dolores clutched her head in pain, the loud sound hurting her ears. Through the terrifying noise, she shouted at him, asking if he wasn't afraid. She questioned why he wasn't terrified of a visitor who knew the true monstrous nature of both himself and his allies. Bartholomew's laughter died down, replaced by a scornful sneer. He scoffed at the idea of being afraid, saying it was impossible. He rose from his seat and loomed over the terrified Dolores. His voice, dripping with arrogance, asked what human in the world could possibly frighten him. In a flash, he was leaning over her. His face twisted into a monstrous grin as he grabbed her chin, his presence completely overwhelming her. But just as he was about to continue his torment, he froze. A flicker of confusion crossed his face as he sensed something was wrong. His gaze shifted toward the entrance of the vault, where the wooden carts that had carried the gifts now lay broken. From the shadows near the broken crates, a pair of intense, glowing red eyes glared back at him, causing Bartholomew's own demonic eyes to widen in genuine shock. An immense, suffocating pressure suddenly filled the entire room, catching the demon lord completely by surprise. A violent surge of red demonic energy erupted from one of the broken gift crates, and from within the explosion of power, a new figure emerged. It was the Night Hound, covered in a menacing red aura. He declared that the one human Bartholomew should fear was standing right there. Bartholomew, who instinctively moved between the newcomer and Dolores, was stunned by the immense power coming from a mere human body. He also detected a faint, familiar scent, the smell of the demon Beelzebub. As he put the pieces together, he finally realized who he was facing. With his own glowing red eyes fixed on the demon lord, Bartholomew asked if he was the infamous Night Hound, the mysterious figure who had been shaking the capital. In response, the Night Hound's hand went to his side, and he drew the jagged demonic dagger Bilabwan. With the weapon glowing with evil energy, he formally addressed his target, Bartholomew, head of the Borjo family too. The battle was about to begin. With no more words needed, the Night Hound launched his attack. He leaped from the top of a golden mound, his masked face reflected in a single coin as he shot through the air. Thumbing down on the demon lord with his dagger raised, he declared that he had come to kill the corpse-flesh demon. The first clash of their powers resulted in a massive explosion that sent gold coins flying everywhere. Reacting instantly, Dolores summoned a protective barrier of golden light to shield herself. Bartholomew, completely unfazed by the attack, let out an amused chuckle. He commented that his opponent seemed to know how to handle a blade. Before Viker could react, Bartholomew summoned a demonic sword of his own, and effortlessly blocked the attack. He boasted that he was quite skilled himself. The two warriors fought in a furious exchange of blows. Viker swung his red dagger with incredible speed, but Bartholomew parried every strike, forcing Viker to retreat and rethink his strategy. As he looked at Bartholomew's weapon, a shocking realization hit him. He recognized the sword, a blade so sharp it could cut through steel, yet so corrupting it would turn any wielder into a tyrant. It was the legendary demonic sword of the Baskerville family, a weapon that was supposed to be sealed away. Bartholomew stood ready, effortlessly holding the flaming demonic blade, Balmon. Viker could only stare in disbelief, his mind racing as he tried to understand how this demon could possess such a powerful and guarded weapon. Bartholomew explained with a smug grin that in his youth he had been such a talented swordsman that the previous head of the Baskerville family had been deeply impressed. He claimed that the former patriarch had begged him to become his student and had even gifted him the legendary sword Balmon. With that boast, he declared that for Viker to dare fight him was simply bad luck. He then launched himself forward, leaping across the piles of gold to attack. Viker met the attack, blocking the flaming sword with his small dagger. A furious exchange of blows followed, their weapons clashing in a blur of red and gold light as Bartholomew unleashed a relentless series of strikes. As they fought, Bartholomew's frustration grew. He snarled, questioning how a mere human could know about his true nature as a corpse-flesh demon and how he had managed to kill his demonic comrades. Their blades continued to clash, the ringing of steel echoing through the vault. Screaming that the fool's games were over, Bartholomew charged forward with all his strength, his demonic sword glowing with immense power. The blade found its mark, piercing straight through Viker's chest in what looked like a fatal blow. From across the room, Dolores cried out in horror, screaming Viker's name. Blood splattered onto the golden floor. Believing he had won, Bartholomew loomed over his fallen enemy. With a cruel grin, he promised to chew on Viker's corpse and keep his head in the vault until it rotted away, telling him to consider it a great honor. He then grabbed the hilt of the sword still in Viker's body, preparing to finish him off. But just as he was about to deliver the final blow, a calm, clear voice cut through the air, calling him pathetic. The words stopped Bartholomew in his tracks, his arrogant expression instantly replaced by one of pure disbelief. Viker, still impaled by the sword, continued his insult. He said that not only was Bartholomew pathetic for needing such a crude sword to win, but the previous Baskerville head was just as pathetic for gifting away his family's treasure. As he spoke, an immense surge of red demonic energy erupted from his body, his eyes glowing with a renewed and terrifying power. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe and like the video.